Welcome to day 6 of the Rich Method. Today is going to feel like perhaps the least strategic day of this entire series, but what I want you to know from the get-go is it is the work that has to happen before strategy can. And this is what we often forget is in business with actions and strategies and processes, all of the offers and whatnot. This is what has to happen first. Well, it doesn't have to happen, but I highly recommend it. And oftentimes it is a necessary component. And so what I want to be able to share with you is the less we fight it, resist it, resent it, the easier it will be. So in this series, I have been showing you and teaching you, telling you what I did to have 1,000 people move toward me in 9 months. This was a combination of people who joined our email list, people who joined our free Facebook community, people who pulled out their credit cards and paid us. Some of these groups and communities, has more than 1,000. So it continues to expand. And we all want to learn how to get things that we want and how to move people toward us and how to make more money, myself included. And if you listen to people who've done the thing, who are actually on the field and playing the game, they will often tell you there's things that you don't see. There's the unsexy work. There's the long, dark hallway where you don't have any idea who you are, what you're doing, where you're going, why everything is happening the way it is, if you're up, down, dead or alive. These are not my favorite seasons. I'm guessing they're not your favorite seasons. As human beings, we don't naturally appreciate them, but perspective does help. And so I finally have a little bit of distance and perspective. And so I can share with you today stories that I have not shared before. Because enough time has passed and enough work has been done and enough dots have been connected that I can now make sense of what was at one time a lot of pain, chaos, confusion, and what felt like a lot of endings and a lot of deaths. So I'm going to, at the end, give you a couple practical things that might help you in this season, or at least point your nose in a direction for you to find what will help you, because we are all different. We are all unique. So what helped me might not be the exact thing that will help you, but it will get your wheels turning. And I have no doubt what's right for you will pop in. It will show up for you. So we're going to start today's session by backing it up. So I had been the face of this business since the beginning. My husband, Derek, has been on the back end. He's always been the one who's created the structures and systems. He is an architect. He is a master life path number. He's a 22, so he's a master builder. Derek can build anything from nothing, even if he's never done it before. I've watched him do this in business. I've watched him do it in our lives. I watched him do it at the property that we lived at for 6 years. He took a property and literally 3-4 days after moving in, he started digging holes. He started planning how a 45 tree fruit tree orchard would look. He crafted ponds and waterways that went around our entire property. He sees, he gets the vision, and then he builds it. And so if you looked at our business from about 2019 to about 2024, we were in this hyper growth season. We had always done business consulting. We had always done marketing. And we started off doing this for local businesses. And then we moved online after we had 2 babies in 12 months and decided that we wanted to give them the greatest gift that we could think of. And that was the gift of travel. We took them around the world. And so my boys got to spend the first 5 years of their lives in Mexico, in Europe, in the Mediterranean, Costa Rica. They got to see all the places. And when we added the publishing division, Alma Publishing, to our business, we absolutely hit this bell curve of growth. And as you all know, we all pray for that, but then also it creates its own problems. And so Derek and I were well, I should say challenges, right? Opportunities for growth. Derek and I were working as quickly as we could in this huge season of growth. And thankfully, because of Derek and his skill set, we were able to do that. We were working with hundreds of clients at any given time. We had Amazon campaigns for solo authors, for collaboration books. We had book partners and podcasters who were then creating books for their audiences, and we were doing the publishing side. We were doing white label publishing for names and companies you probably recognize and know, and they didn't want to learn the whole publishing side, but we could do it for them, and so we would partner. And what we learned in this season is that if you have a very clear offer and you can distinguish yourself from others, and this is the thing I think we did best, is we distinguished ourselves from other publishing houses and from other people who were doing similar services. You can have people flock to you, and you can also have them refer like crazy. We had so many referrals that came in through Alma Publishing and our authors. And so Alma Publishing was built and born and released in 2019, but we had actually been helping some of our clients with publishing and storytelling and writing before that. But we just didn't feel confident enough to say this is a service we offer. It happened because people knocked on our door, clients who were already ours, and said, hey, you already know my business from A to Z. You're already helping me with the marketing, and we've already crafted all these stories. It only makes sense that you help with the book. So we had worked out a lot of the bugs and learned a lot of the costly lessons early on before Alma Publishing rolled out. So when Alma rolled out, while we were keeping up with hyper growth, a lot of the process of publishing we had already figured out. And so it became something that we could kind of do in our sleep. It felt easy. It felt fun. It felt exciting. And we released our first USA Today bestseller. It also hit the Wall Street Journal list, #4 there. And it just felt like, oh my gosh, this is something that a lot of people want, and we're loving it too. But then there was this point that happened, and I remember I actually went to the mountains with Derek and some friends, and I said, I feel this moment of fate. And I don't know how to describe it. I never talked about it publicly. With this little group of people at 10,000 feet elevation in the middle of nowhere in a log cabin, I said, I feel something is coming that will change me and evolve me, change the trajectory of my life, and help me become who I could be. And I am both nervous and excited, terrified and thrilled. And I was spot on. Within a few months, I had received an invitation to help with a family business that was local, that was brick and mortar. And it was time for her to move on. It was time for my mom to open the next chapter of her life. She had run a health food store for 40 some years. And she said, I need help with the next chapter, and I need help stepping out of this. How many of you know when you've built something that you love and you have poured your heart and soul into it and you've achieved success, it can be very difficult to walk away from it. It can be difficult to wrap it up. It's difficult to know how to have any other season. And so I accepted the invitation. And what I didn't realize at the time is that I was actually on the same path as her. We were both being asked to step out of doing life and business the way that we had. We were both being asked to release identities and definitions that other people had assigned to us and that we had then assigned to ourselves. Letting go of how things had been, no matter how good they were. How many of you have ever had to let go of something, not because it was terrible, not because it was awful, but you could feel a next season was coming, and no matter how good it had been, it just didn't feel like it was what was going to continue. It was not what you were meant to do. What I learned is letting go of things that are not good for me. That's one thing. Letting go of things that had been incredibly good for me and good to me. Whole new level. of trust. I called it a faith walk over and over and over when I would talk to Derek and my dad and a couple of close friends who walked through this season with me. I would tell them this is the biggest faith walk I have ever been on, because faith is about what we can't see. When people go, well, yeah, I can do it as long as I know what's next, as long as I can see what's going to happen, as long as you can guarantee an outcome. That's not faith. And no matter what sort of religious affiliation you have or where you stand in religion or spirituality, faith is a human component. If you are on planet Earth right now, you will learn faith, like it or not, whether you subscribe to anything else or not, you will learn it. That's part of why we're here. And so I don't know if you've all ever been punked by the universe, but it was the ultimate punk to help me let go of what had been. But I didn't understand at the time why. So I walked this path for a year. I remodeled and revamped a brick and mortar business, reopened it. And then within a month of reopening it, it was taken away, and it was this ending, an unexpected ending that I had not counted on. And I didn't understand it because I had done a good job and I had done all the things and it was successful and everything had been ticked off the to-do list that I thought was expected of me and that I expected of myself. What I didn't know at the time is I wasn't meant to run that business. I wasn't meant to take that over. I was meant to get a feeling of what it would be like to let go of what I had full reins of, to become almost like training wheels to be able to completely let go. Now, what most people didn't know is that at this time, we still had publishing clients. Alma Publishing was still running. I just wasn't the front face of it. I was not on social media anymore. As you can imagine, running a brick and mortar business, let me tell you, that's the hardest work you'll ever do. Anyone who has brick and mortar business, like, hats off to you, right? I have an online business. It's child's play in comparison in terms of like number of hours and hard freaking work. So Alma Publishing was still happening. We still had solo authors. We still had collaboration books that were going. We had book partners who were selling spots in books that we were collaborating on. So all of this was still happening. And if this gives you any indication of how easy it was for me, I could do all of that and keep that up and have that stream of income going while I was remodeling and working in the brick and mortar. But this one particular day, I noticed something changed, or maybe I became more aware of what was happening when I was working with the publishing company. I had a call with a client who had just hired us to publish her solo book. And on the call, I could not think straight. I could not focus. It was like she was speaking a different language. It was like I had never done this before. Like it was the first time I had a publishing client. My brain would not work. And I wrapped up the call and I told her I'm going to consider some things and then I'm going to communicate back. I needed to get off the call and I needed to figure out what was going on. And this happened every single time I needed to do something publishing related. Everything that had felt easy, that I was doing in my sleep, all of a sudden it was the hardest thing I ever did. And all of the perimenopause symptoms were the worst and the hardest when I was doing work around publishing. I couldn't figure out if I had lost my mind, well, that's exactly what I thought. I thought I'd lost my mind. I thought, oh my goodness, is this like what Alzheimer's feels like? Is this what a nervous breakdown? I don't know. I don't even know who I am anymore. And the thing that I did that's not easy for me to do is I got really honest with a couple of people about this. Now, I want to give you a little insight into who I am. I do not show people. I do not let anyone in or know when I'm having a hard time. when something is feeling hard or challenging or difficult, or when I'm collapsing and absolutely crumbling internally, I never showed on the outside. We have a little joke in our house, right? So we always would watch Survivor, and there was this guy who would always say, "You got to stay cool, calm, and collective instead of collected." So this is me. No matter what, no matter what's going on, I show up publicly, cool, calm, and collective. Just buried a daughter, cool, calm, and collective. Insane thing happening in the background, nobody will know it. This is how I operated my entire life. Even people close to me, I would never tell them when I was having a hard time. I'd just figure it out. I don't know if you can relate. But for the first time in my life, I said, I don't want to do that. I want to let you in. I want to be honest. I don't know what's happening, but I can't handle things the way that I used to be able to handle them. And I don't know what it means, but I want to be open with you. Now, as you can imagine, this led to a lot of honest and hard, uncomfortable conversations with Derek. I said, I don't know if we can continue Alma Publishing. This is what's happening when I do it. Now, keep in mind that this is the division of our business that's churning the most cash. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't create confidence in anyone, definitely not in me, to consider releasing the thing that is providing the most financial stability, that makes me feel the best about myself, and that has probably the clearest path forward on how we could continue to create cash and clients and collaborations. But that's exactly what we did. We decided at some point, if this isn't working, if this isn't serving you, if this is what you're experiencing, Monique, then we're not going to continue. And we came to that conclusion before we knew what was next. Not a fun spot to be in. But what I can tell you is that I knew in my heart that there was something evolving and there was something changing, and I could not resist it anymore. I couldn't deny it. I couldn't fake it. I couldn't double down, white knuckle it. I couldn't do any of that. And so in my favorite field on my grandparents' property, I said, I'll let it go. If I'm not meant to do this anymore, I will let it go. Even if I don't know what's next, even if I don't know what will replace the income, even if I don't know if I, at that point, I didn't even know if I was supposed to be in business anymore. Am I supposed to be a person? Am I supposed to lead this company? Am I supposed to be the front face? I have no idea, but I'm willing to let it all go. And we sat in the void and in the dark, and we did not insist on having any answers or securities or replacements. We just let it be. This was the single most defining moment Derek and I have had together. Now, keep in mind, we lost a daughter. So this was huge because this felt even bigger than Nina. If that could even be, and I never thought when I went through that with Nina that I would ever have something even bigger. And I decided that every way that I had defined myself and every way that I had seen myself, I had let it go. And I started a blank sheet and a fresh beginning with myself. I didn't have any expectations of myself. I didn't say I had to do something just because I'd been good at it in the past. I just let myself be. And Derek and I, we got this idea one day. I don't remember how it happened. We just decided that we were going to, at 7 o'clock every single morning, no matter what the weather was like in Colorado, we were going to go on a 3 mile walk. We're going to go on a 3 mile walk together. No phones, no podcasts, no learning, no getting better. If you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, we spend a lot of our day getting better at something. We were just going to walk. We were going to walk. Would we talk? Maybe. I don't know. We're just going to walk every morning at 7 a.m., no matter what. And we did this for months on end. And what I can tell you is things began to become clear. The fog was lifting. And even though we didn't know what was happening still, we just knew we were going to be okay. And I began in the afternoons to take a nap or to do a meditation, to just be still, completely still for 20, 30, 40 minutes every afternoon. And then one day I was in that one red chair in my favorite field by the ditch and the pond, the big trees behind me. And guess what? Network like the rich fell out of the big blue sky. Now, if you would have asked me 6 months prior, 6 days prior, if that was what we were going to do, I would have been like, I don't think so. Like my nose wasn't pointed in any direction. I was not brainstorming. I was not thinking of good ideas. I wasn't talking to chat. I wasn't looking around on the internet. I wasn't watching what other people were doing. I just let it be nothing. And some of you know it was maybe I don't know, a day or two earlier, Derek, just randomly, like I don't even remember what we were doing, or it wasn't a like, let's sit down and talk about our lives in the direction of our business type of thing. He was just like, if you could do anything, if you did it for free, what would you do? I said, oh, I'd network. I'd connect people. Now, one of the very first things Derek ever said to me when we met, this was maybe after our first date, he said, you're a natural connector. And I said, yeah, that's true. I am. I'm a matchmaker. So he asked me this, I said this, and then out in Grandma's field, Network Like the Rich just dropped in. So I told Derek, buy the domain name. This is the thing. Oh my gosh. And then wouldn't you know it, we'd go for the walk. I'd be still in the afternoon, and then day by day, one piece of the puzzle would drop in. One idea, one direction, one name, one possible program, one simple idea. And one of those days, the idea was just do a Zoom call, no opt-in, nothing fancy. No, I didn't do anything. I just said, if you want to network for 1 hour together, I can't remember, I don't even know if it was 1 hour. I just said, if you want to network together, click on the Zoom link. And 53 people joined, and I was doing my thing. I was connecting people. I was drawing out of them how to communicate about what they do so other people could understand. And then I asked them questions. I got them talking about what they enjoy about networking, what they hate about networking, what they want to get out of networking. And the party had started. And we were off to the races. And I was having fun. I was having fun. I didn't create something because I had to. Even though if you would looked at the circumstances, you'd been like, girlfriend, you have to, you need to get it together, figure it out. I refused to move from that point. Refused. Nothing good comes from creating something in that place. Not for me. And as things began to happen, I was reminded of my own human design, my own life path. And everything was just so perfectly coming together and arranging and allowing me to be who I am, what I do naturally, what I love doing. what's fun for me, and people started moving. Now, an interesting thing, we had our final collaboration book. Some of you know this book, Spark. We had our final collaboration book that was meant to be published, I want to say in December of 2025. And there was a few contributors that had some major life events happen, and they really wanted to contribute, but they were dealing with big life. And we had dealt with big life, so we understood that. And so we decided to put the release date out to the end of January. I want to say it was January 30th. And Derek and I had a couple conversations in January about how, well, I guess this is going to be it. This is going to be the wrap up. This is going to be the final book that Alma Publishing does. And we were both by this point at peace. We were good. We were completing something that we had committed to, and that was going to be the end. The book released on January 30th. We both had a story in it. It was a great experience. Once again, hit #1. And then I got the message, that's not the end. Oh, okay. Okay. You just can't do it the way that you used to. Do it this way. And it was this idea that when we did publishing and storytelling in a book and also helping people tell their story, all the places, podcasts and social media, it was going to be a different process. It was going to be a more advanced process. It wasn't going to be right for anyone and everyone who just wanted to share their story. It was going to be right for the entrepreneur who's online and who says, I want to play an elevated game. I really want to drill down on the stories that are most uniquely mine, that nobody else has, that no one else can tell. And not just from a this is what happened to me perspective, but this is the universal theme, thread, and takeaway that everyone can appreciate no matter who they are or where they are in their life and business. And helping entrepreneurs say, oh, these are my quotes. These are the things I say all the time. These are things that I actually need to be known for. This needs to all tie back to me. So when people hear these words or these phrases, these things, it's, oh, you must be talking about Lisa. And being able to articulate ourselves in a way that people know why they're saying yes to us. It ties a little bit with what I shared in day 5. When you have this experience, being able to demonstrate it through your words and your stories. So I'm going to be honest, this offer has never created more butterflies in Derek and I than this one. So I get all these ideas. I get all the ideas when I take a nap, yoga nidra, go for a walk, lay in the field. So I come in the house and I'm a little nervous. And I told Derek, so here's the thing. Alma Publishing isn't done, but this is how we're going to do it. This is the offer. And it wasn't a simple offer. I knew he wasn't going to be able to whip it out, in 6 hours. It was probably going to take him 6 days because there was a lot of depth in it. And I said, will you create it for me? And his very first question is, he said, have you already sold spots? Because this is what I often do. I sell spots before it's even available on the website. And I said, I haven't. He said, okay, do you have anyone you've even mentioned it to? Not really. I said, but on launch day, it was like something took over. And I wrote this post on launch day of Spark. And I said, if you want to, I don't know, hear about the next opportunity to share your story or something, comment below. Now, I wrote that post before the idea came to me. And actually, after I wrote the post, I was thinking, what am I thinking? I need to go delete that post. But by the time I came to my senses, And I went to the post, there was already, 8 or 9 people who had commented that they wanted the information. So I said, there is this one post, and I think like 17 people commented on it. So I could go to those 17 people. He says, okay, okay. I said, I could also go to the mastermind members. He's like, uh-huh. So, bottom line, essentially, I didn't know if the offer would sell. I just knew I got the idea. So, once again, as we have over and over and over, he trusted me and I trusted him. And we came to the consensus that we would create the offer, we'd roll it out, and if nobody bought it, nobody bought it. And if they bought it, great. Then we would receive confirmation either way, and then we would be good. We could both be good with it. And we rolled out power moves, and 28, 29 people bought it right away. In fact, it's the offer. We roll out offers sometimes and people have they've been pre-sold on it. And sometimes we roll an offer out and people will buy it within, an hour. But power moves, Derek hit the button, he gave me the link, and I put it out. And Power Moves sold, I think, within like 13 minutes of the link going live. It was just boom, 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 right? All the dinging on my computer. And the publisher and me got to smile. The endings are sometimes just so we could have new beginnings. The deaths are for the rebirths. Had I not let so much go, everything that has happened in the last 9 months would not have happened. And if everything that happened in the last 9 months wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be here creating this video series, and I wouldn't have met you, and we wouldn't help each other on our path. It is hard to let go. It is hard to trust. A faith walk is no joke. But the things that happen as a result of doing them are incredible. Incredible. And you can never really know it unless you've done it. And there's the outer trappings that show you, but also there's this inner feeling, this knowing that is unlike anything else. As human beings, we try to make sense of this life. Many come and they remember why they're here, what they're here to do, what their contribution is. They know how to fill their days. They know how to be both spirit and material. But others, they come and they never remember. And they struggle and they bang their head against the wall, and life never makes sense. I don't want you to just run a business and create offers and emails and posts on social media. I want you through your business to remember who you are, why you're here, what you have to contribute, and do that every day. Let that be the foundation, because that will be the most meaningful for you and them, for all involved. We've probably all seen construction sites, whether it's for a skyscraper or an apartment building or your own home. And when they start construction, they don't just start building. The first thing they do is dig a hole. Have you seen the hole that they dig for new construction? And the depth of that hole corresponds and correlates with how tall that building is going to be, how many stories it is. The part that no one talks about is that if you're going to build something amazing, you got to start by digging a hole. You've got to make sure that everything that was once there is out of there so something new can go in there. I could have brought everything with me. I could have kept pulling from my past success, my past strategies, my past processes, my past everything. I could have kept pulling from it, but I was specifically asked not to. And there's a couple of reasons why I can see now. Is if we are actually growing and evolving, if we just keep pulling on what we've done in the past, we're not actually moving forward. Because what this moment requires of us could be very different than what that required of us 2, 3, 4, 10 years ago. And the way that life is moving and humanity is changing and evolving, it's very fast right now. What might change in a year can change in a month. And if we keep relying on who we've been, we might miss the opportunity to become who we could be. I don't have a desire to do a video like this or an offer or support my clients and serve up stale bread. I would rather serve you up fresh, hot manna that just came in. Because that is what's going to feed you and nourish you. So I don't know where you are on your business or personal journey. I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know if you're someone like me. Even if absolutely everything was falling apart, you wouldn't show it. But this is what I want to offer you. Is that just because there's an ending and just because there's a void doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It doesn't. It's so hard for us to sometimes understand it's not a bad thing. For a long time, I thought it was a bad thing. I would like replay everything, like, where did I go wrong? When did I take a wrong turn? And then it was like, oh my gosh, why do I assume that? Yes, I will take the time for self-reflection. Yes, I will own my mistakes. I'll take responsibility for these things. But also, evolving doesn't mean that it was all bad and wrong. It's just not for what's coming. So there's a couple of things that have helped me through multiple challenging seasons. They might be right for you, but they might spark something that's right for you. So long, quiet walks outside. I've done these in a blizzard. I've done these in 98-degree weather. I've just done them. And what I have found for myself is 3 to 6 miles is my sweet spot. There have been seasons when I've had to walk 6 miles because that's how long it took me to get past the mental chatter until everything went quiet inside. So long walks, they do a couple of things for me and they might do a couple of things for you. They give me a way to physically move everything that I feel like I need to move, because during challenging seasons, there is a combination of fear and grief and confusion, regret, anxiety, excitement, doubt. There's like the whole emotional concoction going on. And what I find is if I physically move my body, it helps me process it better versus a still body and a like completely overactive mind. And this is what most people have: an underactive body and an overactive mind. So the physical moving has helped me process better and faster. And no stimulus, no music, no podcasts, no video like this, no lecture, no radio, nothing, just the silence. And notice at what distance everything goes quiet. Because the mind will, especially at the beginning, oh, it's chatty, it's going off, it's firing off. And then there's this point where you transcend all of the noise and there's just peace. There's just quiet. There's just possibility. And in this point is really the only point that anything good ever really slips in for me. It's the space between the notes. It's the space between the thoughts. It's a space between the. And then the second thing is having times in the day. You might start with 5 minutes where the body is still, completely still. The eyes are closed. Nothing is happening. I always start with 20 minutes and then I work my way up to where I can do this for 40, 60 minutes. In this absolute stillness of body, the mind gets to work out what it's still chewing on. No trying, no solution, no agenda, no expectation. Now, if you think the way I do, this is what you're doing. Anyone doing this? Are you calculating in your mind how many hours a day this is? Dear God, Monique, the action item you're giving us, this is hours of my day. I'm a parent. I'm a business owner. I'm a wife. Hello? Are you living in the real world? I hear you. I hear you. It is rare that we have seasons that we will dedicate these kinds of periods of time, chunks of time, to process ourself, our life, our experiences, and really prepare ourselves to become the person who's prepared for our own future. It is a commitment. And it will require you to rearrange things. It will require you to have conversations with other people and get support and have other people doing things that you normally and currently do. It will. And it will be so worth it. It will be so worth it. Network like the rich and everything that's happened in the last 9 months, it didn't happen because I got strategic. It happened because I decided I was willing to become the person who could lead the thing. Because without that, it's not a solid foundation. Right now, whatever is going on, it might actually be when the smoke clears and the fog lifts and the pain lessens and the confusion dissipates, you might see all it actually is preparation. You becoming the person who can lead and hold what's next. Because no matter what you do in this world, no matter what you think you do in your business, really what you do is you help people. And the only way we can help people is if we first know how to help ourselves. If we're first incredibly dedicated to our own progress, our own growth, our own wholeness. The world doesn't need a fragmented, frayed, overwhelmed, hurting leader. The world needs people who have enough patience and dedication to take care of what's going on here before reaching their hand out here and offering something. It's the only way it will have the value that is really needed. Whatever your next step is, I hope that it includes you taking care of yourself Maybe it means starting your day looking after you before you look after everyone else, anyone else. Maybe it means making a little bit more space in your life and your schedule. Maybe it means letting go of everything that's been for what is about to come. Thank you so much for being with me today and through this series. Business is really just a disguise on becoming who we're meant to be. Because if we don't remember who we came to be, then all is lost no matter what we think we accomplished. I said this on social media today, that I have two things to master in this life: spirit, because spirit is the greatest part of us. It looks like the material physical world is, but our greatest, the biggest portion of who we are is spirit. We came from that, we'll return to that. And to the extent that we connect to that is to the extent that we can create material wealth, material ease in a material world. And what I found is once I created that, then it led me right back to spirit, because material wealth and material trappings, as amazing as they are, they will never be enough for someone who's spirit. And I actually see now that everything that I created in Alma just led me back to spirit. So I could remember what's important. I could create that connection. And then from that connection, it led me back to the material. And that's how Network Like the Rich was formed. It's this dance. If understanding who we are and our connection to beyond who we are, to something greater than who we are, if that doesn't help us create the material, then we're falling short. But then once we have the material, if it doesn't send us right back to spirit, then we forgot the point. May we not forget the point. I shall see you tomorrow. Bye.